So, I just recently finished watching Beastars, and although I really enjoyed watching this show, after I finished, I still felt this sense of unsatisfaction in me. So, in order to satisfy this craving, I decided that I was going to create an OC persona just for the Beastars universe. I guess in this case you could also call it a Beastar Sona, but for some reason, saying Beastar Sona sounds like a tongue twister. I have no idea why. So let's get to drawing. First off, I just want to say I really love Beastars so much. I think Beastars has to be one of my top 5 favorite anime of all time. I think one of the main reasons as to why I love Beastars so much is the fact that Beastars is based off of anthropomorphic animals / real animals in real life. I'm not too sure what about anthropomorphic animals I love so much, but I think it's the fact that it's the combination of both human and animalistic traits combined into one character. I think it also has to do with the fact that one of my all-time favorite things growing up had to be Sonic the Hedgehog, and Sonic the Hedgehog has anthropomorphic characters. And before some of you weirdos ask, no, I do not think that I'm an animal, and no, I do not wish to be an animal. I just like anthropomorphic animals and hybrid characters. That's all. That's like the equivalent of going up to someone who really likes robots and saying, do you identify as a robot? Do you think you're a robot? Like, guys, come on. Just because a person likes something anthropomorphic animal or just animal related doesn't automatically mean that they think they're an animal or they want to be an animal. I just needed to put that disclaimer out there because I just know there's going to be somebody in the comments that's going to say something related to this. And of course, just like with any other commentary video that I make on this channel, please don't take any of the points that I say too seriously. This is all just meant for fun, and I just really like yapping about the things that I like. Alright, now that we got that disclaimer out of the way, it is now time to answer the question of, what is Beastars even about? According to Wikipedia, as I'm not very good at summarizing things, Beastars takes place in a modern world of civilized anthropomorphic animals with the cultural divide between carnivores and herbivores, and where eating meat, which always comes from other anthropomorphic animals, is strictly illegal. Besides the no-meat concept, Beastars also explores the story of our main character Legoshi, and how he may or may not have a crush on a certain rabbit character. Basically, this story is about the no-meat concept, meaning don't eat other animals, as well as Legoshi's romance story. Okay, we are now entering spoiler territory, so if you don't want to hear any spoilers, be sure to skip to this timestamp. But otherwise, it is now time to talk about the things that I like and dislike about Beastars. Alright, so rapid fire, things I liked. First off, the story was phenomenal. The writing for the characters, the background characters, the plot, amazing. The second thing I also really loved was the accommodations. For example, how some of the doors are smaller than others to accommodate for the smaller animals, or how the clothes for bigger animals are much bigger because, well, they're bigger. I also really love the characters' designs in general. I personally think that the studio that did the designs for these characters did a really good job combining 2D and 3D aspects mushed together into one. Maybe it has to do with the fact that I'm an artist and I just appreciate these kinds of things a lot more than the average person does. Despite all of these good things, however, there were some flaws that stood out to me. And the first one happens to be the no-meat concept. As we all know, one of the biggest things about Beastars is the no-meat concept. How you're not supposed to eat other animals because that's technically, in some sort of way, considered cannibalism, I think. And although I really did like the no-meat concept, I just really didn't like how they focused on the no-meat concept more than the actual story itself. For example, one of the biggest focuses early on in the story happened to be about the school life in Cherryton Academy. I hope that I pronounced that right, but while I was watching this show, I personally thought that the whole story was going to be more focused on the school life and the no-meat concept. However, towards the later parts of the story, they seem to kind of stray away from the school life and just focus more on the no-meat concept and the romance. I mean, I knew this story was going to be about romance and the no-meat concept from the beginning, but what was the point of the school in the first place if you're just gonna focus on those later in this story? I would much rather have it if they focused on the school life for the entire story, or they focused on the no-meat concept and the romance for the entire story, instead of showing up the school and then throwing away the entire concept of the school for nothing. I could rave about this for who knows how long, however, I do have to continue on with the video. Which brings me to my second complaint, which is the characters. One of the biggest problems that I had with Beastars is that some of the characters are so inconsistent. Like, what do you mean in one episode they're acting as if they're the most confident character to ever live, and then in the next episode they're maniacally laughing as they're tackling other people down onto the ground like they're playing flag football? Like, what is going on? While some characters seem to be switching up their personality in every other episode, some characters, such as our main character Legoshi, is just a complete 180 altogether. Like, what do you mean Legoshi goes from being this kind, sweet, self-conscious-ish type character to all of a sudden beating up other anthropomorphic animals and dropping out of school? Like, what? The 180 from him was so insane. Okay, I yapped about Beastars way too much for this video, but it's finally time to get to the main point of this video, which was to create an OC persona for the Beastars universe. Just like with any other Sona, the first step in creating a Sona is to actually create the character. For this Sona specifically, there were two things that I for sure wanted to include. The first condition actually had to do with the animal itself. I knew that no matter what my character turned out to be, I for sure wanted it to be a dog. And this is because the persona that I use on a regular basis is a dog. And if you didn't know that, that's okay, because low-key, I think I would have been confused too if I were you. And this actually leads into the second condition, which is that I wanted to make sure that my persona for this universe was also a hybrid character. And this is because, like I just mentioned, my persona in real life is a mix of a human and a dog. Now, when it came to actually choosing what animal I wanted to be mixed with, it was kind of hard deciding because there were so many options. Despite the many options, however, my brain for some reason decided to settle on a rabbit. I'm not too sure as to why my brain decided to settle on a rabbit, but hey, rabbits are pretty cute. And not only that, some types of rabbits are pretty powerful. Or are those hares? Do they count as rabbits? Do rabbits count as hares? Now that I had decided that my hybrid mix was going to be a dog and a rabbit, I now had to decide on what type of dog I wanted to be. And some of you guys probably might raise the question of, wait, isn't your OC persona already based off a dog breed? And to that question, I can't exactly answer that because of two reasons. First of all, it's spoilers for my persona's lore. And secondly, I actually didn't exactly decide on a dog type when I was creating my OC persona yet. And trust me, when I tell you that it was so difficult choosing a specific dog type that I wanted to be for this universe, it was pretty difficult. So to make things a little bit easier, I decided that it would be best to draw a couple of concept ideas out before I decide on what I wanted to be. Unfortunately, despite the many thoughts in my head, I was only able to produce one concept idea, and it happened to be this. For this concept idea, I decided to make my persona a mix of a dachshund and a mini Rex rabbit. Okay, the mini Rex rabbit wasn't necessary, but it was really fun researching the different types of rabbits out there, and not only that, I didn't want to make my rabbit type the exact same as another character that already existed in this universe. Because I feel like if I did that, I would kind of take away the spotlight from said character because I'm a hybrid, and I really didn't want to do that. Dog breed wise, I decided to settle on a dachshund because dachshunds are one of my favorite dog breeds. And although I really love this design, there was a major problem with it. Now, unlike us humans, dogs don't exactly have races like we humans do. So although I could have kept this persona the way it was, I just felt like it was kind of wrong for my dog type to be a little bit darker than I was in real life, if that makes sense. Because my skin tone in real life is on the lighter side, while this persona's fur tone is on the darker side. Of course, I don't want to throw this persona away because I love this design so much. So I'm thinking of turning it into an OC in the future. I'm not too sure when. I'll have to figure out what to do with it. So, with some frustration and a lot of imaginary tears, I decided to change my dog type from a dachshund to a corgi, one of my other favorite dog breeds. Unfortunately, besides the final piece, I don't have any other concept drawings of this iteration of this persona. I think it had to do with the fact that I simply just forgot, and also the fact that I am wearing a school uniform in the final piece anyway, so there's really no point in making a separate drawing for it. Okay, now that I talked about the actual design, one more thing that I had to include when creating my persona was my height. I find this concept to be really interesting as every single character is roughly equivalent to the height that animal would be in real life. And when I tell you, it was so difficult trying to determine what height I was in real life because I had to do so much research in figuring out what height corgis and mini Rex rabbits were. And then I also had to consider the fact of, is my height going to be based on the animal vertically or horizontally? Is it going to be based on the animal standing up or sitting down? It was really difficult. But according to my research, it seems as though both mini Rex rabbits and corgis are about the same height when all 4 paws are on the ground. And that roughly only comes out to about 13 to 14 inches. Now I have to be short in real life, and I have to be short in the Beastars universe. Like, what kind of curse is this? Okay, now that we got all of that stuff out of the way, it is now time to talk about the drawing. For this drawing, I really wanted it to take place within the school because, like I said, I really do love the school concept of this story. I'm kind of sad that they decided to pivot away from the story a bit, but at the same time, I can't be mad because I feel like if they really did focus on the school part of the story completely, the no-me concept would eventually kind of fade away. However, if the author does decide on making a spin-off story, please do add more parts of the school life because I really do love the school concept a lot. Location-wise, I decided to set the location outside the school buildings instead of inside because not only is the outside a lot prettier, but secondly, I really wanted to challenge myself this time and try and practice drawing backgrounds. Most of the time, whenever I draw characters, I usually just slap on a solid background at the end because I'm too lazy to do the background. And if I want to get better at art, it's probably a good idea to do some background work. So this is why I decided to draw a background for this drawing. When it came time to drawing the characters, I thought that it would be kind of lonely if I just drew my persona alone, and I also thought that eventually when I post this on my social media pages that it would confuse people because, you know, they wouldn't know who this character is and what it's supposed to be based off of. So to spice things up a little, I decided to also add the main character Lego sheet into the picture to not only make things a little bit more obvious, but secondly, I don't know, Lego sheet's my favorite character, so yippee! I'm sure some of you guys have noticed already, but for this universe, I decided to change my character to be a male instead of a female. I mean, I guess it also kind of works because I am... Anyways, I decided to change my character from a female to a male specifically because of the school uniforms. And this has to do with the fact that in real life, I absolutely despise wearing skirts and dresses. Ever since I was little, I always hated wearing skirts and dresses. Low-key thinking about it, I don't think I could ever survive in a school that requires a uniform because there is no way in hell I am ever wearing a dress or a skirt to school as a part of my uniform. So that's why my persona for this universe is a male, simply because I did not want to have my character wear a skirt. Another thing I also decided to add last minute were the cherry blossom trees. Originally, there were no cherry blossom trees in this drawing. However, I felt as though the drawing was a bit empty on its own, so the cherry blossom trees kind of were to cover things up and make it look less empty. Character position wise, I decided to make both Lego sheet and my characters sit down on a bench because they are outside and I really didn't want to draw them sitting on grass because the amount of shading I would have to do, no thank you. When it came down to actually drawing the drawing, I was struggling a little bit on picking what style I wanted to use when drawing the drawing. Drawing the drawing sounds so ridiculous when I say that out loud, but it makes so much sense in my head for some reason. A part of me wanted to go with the style that I always use, however, I thought that it would be a very good opportunity to challenge myself. So instead of using the style that I always use, I decided that this time, this drawing would be a lineless drawing. For those of you who don't know, a lineless drawing is a drawing with no lines. And in most artist cases, this would be the black outline that you see in every single drawing. And look, if I have to be honest with you, I'm not gonna lie, I think lineless drawings are a lot harder to do compared to line drawings because with line drawings, all you have to do is draw the outline of the character and then proceed to use the color bucket tool to color in the characters. However, with lineless art, you really can't do that. So it was pretty time consuming trying to color in almost every single piece by hand. Some pieces I was kind of able to cheat and use the color bucket tool, but for most pieces, it was kind of impossible. I will say though, although it was very time consuming, it was really fun coloring in each piece. It felt as though I was doing my own coloring book, except I drew out everything and it took multiple weeks, but it's okay. In the end, it was worth it. Another struggle I think I had were the grass and the shading of the trees. For the shading of the tree, for some reason, it took so long for me to figure out how to shade a tree, but once I figured it out, I was just like, did it really take me this long to figure out how to shade a tree? Because it is one of the easiest things in the entire world. All I did was take the cherry blossoms, flip them upside down, and made their color a bit more of a darker green to make it look as if there was a bit of shading on it. As for the grass, I think grass has to be one of my weaknesses when it comes to drawing because I have no idea how to draw grass strands properly. And despite doing a lot of research, I still couldn't grasp the concept in my head, so I just decided to settle on them making them look like little flower stems. And maybe it's because this drawing is in a lineless style, but I think it worked so well with this drawing. I also decided to give some variation in the grass by making some of the grass strands darker while some others lighter. And lastly, to make things a lot less empty, I also decided to add the school building in the background just so that you know that it's taking place in the school. Okay, I think I yapped enough about this drawing and Beastars, so I just want to say you made it to the end of this video. I had so much fun making this video, mainly because of the fact that I got to make an OC persona for one of my favorite shows. And low-key, I'm thinking of starting a series with this where I just draw myself in different shows that I've watched and really like. I don't know if anybody would really be interested in that though. I'm just gonna start the series anyway. I'm not too sure which universe I want to place myself in next, but I do know for sure that it's going to be a show or movie that I like or have watched. But otherwise, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.